And I've noticed there was a few things that, because I'm paying attention to everything everybody's saying, and like the oversaturation with this, like there's this particular artist, I'm not gonna name his name, but he's been promoting his mixtape, and like 8, 9 times, 10 times a day, it's like constantly the same picture with his name, the same picture about his mixtape. I haven't, it actually turned me off to the point where I unfriended him. And yeah, because it would just become, I had no connection to him, and he's just constantly all over the place. And what I tell my artists, sometimes less is more. Like if you make a profound statement in your social media, you can actually hurt it by saying something weaker right after that. You're better off letting that just ride. This day, like I didn't post until I got out to LA. It was like 2 days ago since the last time I posted anything. Because what I said and what I was saying was such a huge statement that the hits were still coming in and coming in and coming in. So I said, why am I gonna say anything else right now? I said all I need to say. I'll say something when I get to LA. You know, so I think that sometimes people get confused with, you know, don't really know, they misuse their social media. And they're turning off more people than they're actually bringing on to them. Like people hang on what I say like with every word, like what's he gonna say next? And I can feel it. You know, so I think you just have to know kind of like, not to say this phrase, but kind of how to pimp it. You know, that's what it is.
It's also important to understand your audience. You know, what is it that your audience appreciates about what has performed, what you do, what's performed well in the past, and understanding your audience helps you figure out where that line is. Sometimes it's bold, sometimes it's narrow, but if you know most of the time you put up X artist and nobody ever clicks on it, you know, chances are that's not what your audience is looking for, or at least what they go to you for. The closer you can hone in onto your readers and to the people who follow you, then the better you'll be able to judge, you know, whether you're putting up 5 dope things today or 20 dope things today, for example. It starts with your audience and understanding them. And then you also know where to guide them, right? Like there's some things that, you know, what is it? Thomas Ford said, like, oh, if the average person, if we told them about a car, they would have never stopped riding horses or something like that, right? You have to know where to take people, but you have to know who they are and know where to get there as well. So pay attention to the people who follow you, your readers, the comment section, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram. Those people are the people who care the most because they cared to comment in the first place.
Okay, while we're waiting for the next person to come forward, if you have a question.
Yeah, I can speak from here. My name is Damon Hinton. I'm a producer, and I'm working on building tours for various artists because that's where the real money is. Now, you've talked about having your own social media, having your own blogs, and so forth. How is this platform, meaning yourselves, once I got 50,000 viewers and so forth across the country, now I'm coming to you. Is this a more of a relationship that we now can move to the next level in monetization of my music and my message? And then from there, what is the next step for the artist himself? Because a lot of things now I see, everything is self-done. You can do your own music, you can do your own promotions, you can do everything yourself, and you can get your fan base. Now is what are the next steps as you get recognized, and then what are some of the pitfalls that some of the artists need to look for? And then how do you make monetization happen?
I think, again, it goes back to building your audience, because I read a quote during some research I was doing that said that artists aren't going to make money necessarily on downloads, but selling their audiences to advertisers. So again, I strongly stress, even if you have to spend marketing money on yourself, like spending marketing dollars, maybe advertising on a Hip Hop DX or Facebook or Google. I mean, you know, if it means helping you get a little more push in your numbers, not fraudulent numbers. I'm not talking about buying numbers on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, but actually utilizing, you know, some of those marketing techniques. But it goes again back to building your audience, because if you have a YouTube channel, they're doing partnerships with people that have so many subscribers to their channel. Again, if you got a lot of people going to your website, or if you have 50,000, 100,000, a million followers, advertisers are going to look at that and want you to maybe tweet their product or endorse their product in some way to get as a way to monetize their brand.
I also want to piggyback off what she's saying, because it also depends on what your goal is at the end of the day. If your goal is to become a world-renowned artist or photographer or whatever your lane is, then you have to look at the ways to monetize it in that way and build that way. Just like how you said you're building events for artists, right?
Yeah.
So that's another way to monetize what you already have going and help artists get the word out about who they are and their brand and so on and so forth. If that's not your goal, then you can find other ways to kind of piggyback and, like she was saying, making money off your website. Maybe you want to go into clothing, or maybe you want to do, shoes or whatever. Because if you look at some of the biggest names that are in music, like a Jay-Z or Kanye, they're doing different things because that's their goal. Their goal wasn't to just become world renowned with music. They did that, been there, whatever. Next goal, shoes. The Yeezus shoes or whatever, the Yeezys, right? Didn't get them, but whatever. The Yeezys or the clothing lines, or it just really just depends on what your end goal is. If you want to be 90 years old rapping, more power to you. Do it. You can do it, you can make money doing it. But again, go back to what she was saying, to advertise and do things on your website. It really just depends on your end goal and your 5-year plan. At the end of the 5 years, where do you want to be at? And have you accomplished everything? Have you hit all angles to do that thing? Okay, if you checked yes on all those things, what do you want to do next? Because the world is your oyster, and you can do whatever you want to, and this could be just a medium to get you to where you want to be next.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Also, too, you have to think this is now where you're starting to think of yourself as a business. Where your brand is just going to become something bigger than just you or making music or the artist making music or you doing a tour. And so even when you bring in the tour idea, you think about, all right, you want to put these artists on tour. Do they have fans in these places that you're taking them to? Or would it be smart to do a tour based on their city and their surrounding area? So if the artist is from SoCal, take them to Santa Barbara, take them to San Diego, take them to LA, take them to the Bay, or even, a small show in Vegas at a nearby club, or, you find these restaurants and bars or Roxy that have opportunities for them to come and perform with other people. So also too, just like, it's not just go out there and do everything. It's going to be something that's more specific and focuses on your brand and what the artist actually needs.